yours or warm up? Okay, this is what I need you to do. Looking at your grid, and I've got to go to full screen because you have to be able to see it before you do anything. So I'm going to go to full screen. You have to, hopefully by viewing it, but if not, you'll have to fix it afterwards. You need to find where dead center is on your grid sheet so that when you make what you think is the origin, there has to be the same amount of boxes counting up, and I will tell you it's 10. So I should have 10 boxes counting up, 10 to the left, 10 to the right, and 10 down. That dot, that origin has to be dead center. Okay? So you could try to eyeball it first, and if you're a little bit off, make changes. That's why you have to work in pencil. Everybody get what you got to do? Find dead center, and then once you have it, use your ruler to make your X and Y axes. Okay? Yeah, you can do that too. After you have your X and your Y labeled, might as well put the quadrants in. It's always good practice anyway. How many of you have gotten this far so far? Okay, go ahead and plot your points A through G. Oh, but before you do that, can I just show you a little way to cut down on the time? Because you have to number your axes as well. But what you can do after you make these little tiny tick marks, so you don't have to label every single line. This is 1. This is. So every other line you can count by 2s. And if you get to the end, you should have 10. And then on the far left, obviously, will be negative 10. Going up, you should have 10, and going down, negative 10. And that'll cut down on the time a little bit. All right, and then when everything is done, it should look like this. And then you can go ahead and plot your points A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. All right, so A should be in quadrant 1, yes? Thumbs up? Okay, good. B should also be in quadrant 1. C is quadrant 2. D is quadrant 3, and if you want to double check it, look, it's 1 line away from the absolute edge, 2 lines from the axis itself, or the y-axis. E is right on the y-axis, and F is quadrant 3. And the only one that should be in quadrant 4 is G. I mean, got them all right. Okay, this is what's called a 1-by-1 grid. We call it a 1-by-1 grid because every box counts as 1 going in either direction. Up, down, left, right. It doesn't matter. You're counting by 1. It's going all around. If I gave you, I'm going to this last question, part B at the bottom. If you were given 18.5, does it fit on a 1-by-1 grid? It doesn't. It runs off the page, right? You'd have to imagine that it would be somewhere, well, 18.5, it would be somewhere deep in quadrant 1, like over here somewhere, right? Okay? So we have a solution for that, and that's going to take you to the next example. If you go to the next example, before I even ask you to look at the actual coordinates, we still have to start the same way. You've got to find dead center. Make your X and Y axis, but here's the key. Don't number anything yet, because you're going to see this is not going to be a 1-by-1 grid. All right, so find dead center. Use your ruler, make as straight as an arrow as you can, your 2 axes. Label it, label your quadrants, but don't number anything yet. Nate. You're right. When you use your pencil to make your axes, you might have to thicken it and kind of color it a little bit, I guess. But that's a fair point too, especially if your pencil's really sharp. Okay, so now your next task, I want you to look at the coordinates. A, B, C, D, and E. But I want you to focus in on just the X coordinate for each ordered pair. So the first coordinate in each ordered pair. Can you still count by ones? Take a look. You're focusing in on just the x. You can count by ones, right? You're still okay because you're within that range, positive, negative 10, right? What about the y coordinate in each set? Right, it's over 10, so you can't count by ones. You'll run out of room. So this whole lesson is about deciding what you're going to count by. Well, the x-axis, we've already determined you can count by 1. My question to you is, what do you think you need to count the y-axis by? And if you get stuck, you look at what your highest number is and what your lowest number is, and I bet you could figure it out. Connor, what do you think? If you count by 2s, you're going to go to 20 and negative 20, but look, Con, I've got a 35 here, and I got a negative 40, so 2 won't fit. 10 would work, but then it's too much. You want to try to find that nice ideal number. What do you think? I think 5. 5 gives you just enough room, but not too much room. So you're going to count your y-axis by 5. Okay? And then you're going to label it and do your little tick marks the same exact way. You can count every other one. So this is my 2, 4. Remember, and this is just the x still counting by 1s. Your y is going to be the new interval of counting by 5s. 6, 8, and 10. Now what I do want you to do is when you go up, down, don't skip. Count them by 5s just because it's new for you. So it takes you a little bit longer, but I think it will help in the long run. So even though it's a little tight on my end, I don't know if you could, just don't write too big, I guess. And do your counting by 5s going up and negative 5s going down. Worth recording. You can count by 1s, you can count by 5s, but what you cannot do is if you decide one axis is going to count by 5s, you can't in the middle of it say, okay, once I hit 25, now I'm going to count by 10s and make the next one 35. You have to be consistent what you count by per axis. So everything on the y has to be in increments of 5, and everything on the x-axis has to be in increments of 1s. You can't decide that all your positives are going to be in 1s and all your negatives are going to be in 4s. You can't do that. But they can be different from axis to axis. Yes?
Can it be 5 and 5?
Yup, it could be 5 and 5 also. Now, I don't want to do 5 and 5 for this one because then you get one side that's really squeezed together. You want to find a nice balance. Jen? Yep, you can do that. As a matter of fact, what we're going to do together after we do this one and plot the points is we're going to, there's 3 more examples. 2 more regular and 1 that will be advanced. When we go to example 3, I want to see if you can figure out the interval. I want to try to do that as a group, and then I can let you plot your points on your own, and I'll show you how you can check it with a partner. All right? All right, plot your points. I'm going to do the same thing here. All right, how are we looking? Okay, A and B are in quadrant 2, right? C is in quadrant 4. Should be like right next to one digit or 1 box away from the y-axis, and 3 from the bottom. And then D is in 1, and E is also in 4, and E is 1 box from the edge, but 2 from the right edge, and 2 boxes from the bottom. Looks good. Any issues? Okay, so now watch what we're going to do because of time, because I do want you to get done. Before you even make your grid, look at your coordinates and tell me what you're going to count by. Okay, and again, the strategy is look at your x's first, because look, you definitely can't count by 1s. All the values are less than 1, aren't they? So what's an appropriate interval? Nicole, what do you think? How many agree 0.1? Okay, good. Yeah, 0.1. Just have to remember one thing. When you get to the last interval, well, count with me. 0.1. Then what? 0.2. Then what? Then what? Then what? And what's the last one? 1.0, not 0.10, 1.0. Okay, what about the y-axis? Look at your high, look at your low. You certainly can. That's what I would do. So you got a 0.1 and a regular one. Okay? Hold off. Now let's go to the last example. Well, sort of the last example. For most last example. What about this? This is your challenge. As a matter of fact, put them both down. I call on you, you'll get something. Look at them, because it's tricky. It is, it's tricky. Okay, I think the x is easier. What do you count the x's by? CBS. I agree, too. Okay? Because your high is 14, I believe, and your low is negative 14. So it's within that range of, if you count by twos, it's negative 20 to positive 20. So 2 works. You got to get the, there you go. I'll split it up. What about the y? Birthday girl, almost. Does everybody see that 0.5 is your best number? Okay? Now, again, ready? Be careful. Count with me. 0.5, what's the next number?
1.5.
No. 0.5, then what?
1.
1.0, not 0.10. Okay? 0.5, and then 1.0, which is the same as the integer 1, right? Then what after 1.0?
1.5.
Then what?
2.
2. Then what?
Then 2.5.
Okay, so you get it, right? Okay, so
3.
now that you know the intervals for examples 2, 3, was it 3 and 4 you did? Still have to do? You can group up and plot your points, but then when you're done with each example, come up and so I can check and make sure the points are plotted correctly. You're fine just doing letters. It'll cut back on time. All right, go ahead. What? 0.5 and 2 and 0.5.